Hey everybody, welcome to another model building workshop. I am Mr. Allen from the Community Libraries of Providence with the Smith Hill Library. And today I'm in my basement in my workstation, and I'm going to show you some model kits from the company Pit Road. Now, Pit Road is a lesser known model manufacturer here in the United States. They're a Japanese company, and you can find these guys and their kits online from different vendors that way. I haven't really seen many of these things here in the States on a shelf at a hobby shop, so the bulk of these I've had to go and source on the internet. And they make some interesting kits. Like, for example, this is the Japanese cavalry car. It's called the Type 92 Heavy Armored Vehicle. This is the early type. The later type, which Pit Road also makes, has a different suspension system and a enlarged machine gun that was placed in the hull. This is the earlier version, which just has two twin light machine guns. So a brief story on why this is called Heavy Armored Vehicle instead of a tank is that due to the doctrine of the Japanese Army, the cavalry was not allowed to have tanks. They weren't allowed to procure them because the tanks were part of the infantry. So this is one of those sticky points. So by calling it a heavy armored vehicle, it's not a tank, right? So that way they could get this in use with the cavalry without breaking any of the so-called rules that they had in place. So, and there are other armies that had that weird distinction as well. So it's not just Japan that had that stipulation. So let's take a look. So this is the finished model. It is a very small light tank. And these were used almost exclusively in Manchuria and in China in the war there. This is in a color scheme that was from the 1930s. But these continued to soldier on during World War II in that theater. I've not come across any reports of these being used in any other theater other than the war in China. As you can see, it's just the two machine guns. Model comes with a figure, which is of okay quality. So the details of Pit Road, they're not the quality of, say, Tamiya or Dragon. They're not quite up to that level. But they are fun. They're kind of more like an earlier Tamiya kit from the 70s. It's kind of that quality. But they are fun to build, and they do make some interesting subject matter. For example, they make things like this Kurogane car. This is basically the Japanese Jeep, which is extremely tiny, two-seater. It might have, well, I guess it's a three-seater. You can fit someone in the back, but that wouldn't be very comfortable. It's a very small, oops, that cobweb keeps getting around. Until I get rid of it, it comes back and it's attached to something else. Anyway, we won't spend any more time talking about cobwebs, but that darn thing has been plaguing me for the last couple of videos. And I clean, who knows. Anyway, I digress. So this is the Kurogane car, which is pretty neat looking, isn't it? I mean, how can you not build that? That's fun. And then Pit Road also makes artillery pieces like this 75mm field gun. And they give you a crew to go with it. The crew, I don't mind these figures. I know they tend to get criticized by a lot of model builders out there for being kind of lacking. I don't think they're that bad. Some say they look more like their 1/48 scale than 1/35. I'll put it next to a 35th scale figure here. Well, yeah, that. All right, that argument's pretty valid because it's true. This is kind of a tiny guy. So, all right, we can see what they're talking about there. Trying him next to Italian infantry. Yeah, a bit small. I don't know. You'd have to be the judge of that. Some of these figures are bigger than others. Yeah, there's the artillery loader there. So the gun does come with a few different guys to operate the cannon, with a loader and a commander, etc. Let's get this Italian figure out of the way. Let's take a look at the some of the instruction sheets here. So here's the painting guide. For that, with that fun 4-color camouflage from the 30s that the Japanese used. It's interesting, they show it with this wonderful sag in the track, but it's not the Lincoln length type tracks they give you. You can't exactly replicate that. Actually, no, these are rubber band tracks, aren't they? Oh, let's see. Yeah, the rubber band tracks. So you couldn't do that sag if you wanted to. But here's the instructions, gives you an idea of what the assembly was like on this. And while the diagrams are fairly busy, this was not a difficult model to build. Went together pretty easily. It looks busy in the diagrams. It really wasn't that hard. Painting was probably the hardest part. And here's the cannon. Type 90 field gun. There's a much busier instruction sheet. It seemed like they had a shortage of paper and they just didn't want to go on to any more pages. They just kind of scrunched it all into this one sheet. A bit busy. You may want to think about going to a copier and blowing some of these pictures up so you can see them better. Because they try to, tell you the crew instructions down the bottom there. I mean, it works, but boy, it's just kind of busy, a lot to look at there. And then the painting guide. It's a very simple painting guide for the Japanese Army. It takes the Japanese khaki color, which you can either try to mix existing colors or try to get the actual Japanese khaki, which you can get from either Gunzi Sangyo or some of these other new outfits that are putting out Japanese paint colors. It's got a little bit more of a reddish brown to it than, say, Tamiya Earth or khaki, if you're using the acrylics. It's a slightly browner shade. And this would be the color that you would find on the Kurogane and other Japanese soft skins would have that color. Including this one, which might be one of their best kits. I have not built this yet, but this gets a lot of reviews on this, and this is a really interesting kit of the Vickers-Crossley armored car, Model 25, 1920s vehicle, and the Japanese bought a number of these from the British. And you can see a few different variations of it there with the Japanese Army, and this camo here, and then the other two are from the Japanese Marines, or was it the Special Landing Forces, I guess they call it. And this kit you can find online. This one is a tad pricier than these other ones. You can see some of the options there. So there are choices with this one as the type of wheels, because the Army and the Navy have different wheel configurations. But all right, this might give you an idea of what these kits look like. So see what I mean? It tends to look like an early Tamiya style kit from the 70s. It's not quite as refined as some other manufacturers, but you know what? It's still fun. The detail's not bad. So there are different types of wheels. I don't know if you can really see them here. And there's another spool here. And some other pieces, components. Now let's take a look at the instruction sheet. And there's some rubber tires, which you can use also if you don't want to use the plastic wheels. There are rubber ones too. Come out. So you got rubber options. Set of decals. It's got the naval markings there with the flag. And then in this little section, you've got there's the hull, gives you an idea of the size of this armored car. And the really odd turret that goes with it. And I guess if you're willing to do a little digging and research and get some, try to seek and source some other decals, which I don't know if they exist or not, but you could probably do this as a British vehicle too, because originally that's what this is. Now let's take a look at these, and these were known, you know, to us through pictures of the Battle of Shanghai, the first and second Shanghai incidents. One was 1932, the other was 1937. That's their moment, I guess. And there's plenty of photos you can look up of that, the clashes there. And these did tend to soldier on as, you know, occupational vehicles throughout the Second World War. But their main moment was at the fighting in Shanghai in the 30s. So here's the instructions. Let me get this out of the way. This is kind of getting away here. So you can see there's different styles of tires. So there's this here, which seems to have like a different pattern than the other one. It's that. You can see some of that there. And you get the engine you can put together. You probably will never see the engine unless you do some surgery to see the engine. But it's all there. And the various styles of painting this. There's this one. I correct myself. This is from the Japanese Navy as well. And there's this type of tire in many different colors. So I guess all of these are from the Navy. And then there's a couple of different variants. This type of car in khaki, and then a gray one as well. Anyway, so that's a quick peek at some of the kits of pit road models. Just another manufacturer out there with another line of interesting vehicles and figures and artillery pieces. So if you like Japanese subject matter, this is another manufacturer to look at, because they make some other things you might not find anywhere else. All right, so keep on building, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye now.